Alright guys, I've had a lot of questions on how to build a 5mm foam board wing. This is the one I did for my glider. I'm going to show you real quick. Well, first things first, we start with one piece of just plain old foam board, 5mm. And you can see the center cross section of my core for my wing is exactly the length of the board, which is 30 inches. Measure 7 wide before you add the balsa trailing and leading edge. 7 inches wide fits most rubber bands that you buy from your hobby shop. You cut perfectly straight piece, 30 inches long. You divide it, mark it at 15 in the middle. This is basswood that you can order off of eBay, little packs of basswood for like $8 or $9. This is just a little piece of it to help strengthen the wing. Now, as you can see here, you can use this foam board for many different types of airplanes. This is the wing for a biplane that I'm working on now. It's not finished, but it kind of gives you the rough idea of the finished product. Again, with the basswood down the center core. And you can follow with carbon fiber rods later on if you want. And these are just cut and beveled just like they do on some of the other programs you might watch. I sand mine, I don't cut mine. You can never find a blade sharp enough. And then you can see my leading edge. I cut some balsa wood, glued it onto the leading edge, and sanded it round. So you get a really nice wing without having to make a huge thick core like some of the other guys do, and still be just as strong with a lot less drag. So back to the big wing. You can see on my glider, my powered glider, right here we got 7 inches roughly. Looks like more like 7 1/8. So this is our wing saddle that we designed for this particular plane, which is also the exact length of a sheet, 30 inches. Which I used the other half of this piece here, you use for your fuselage sides, not your bottom and top. I'll show you how to do that. Measure out your fuselage. I did 2 inches wide, 2 inches vertical, 2 1/4 wide to fit the servos. And you want the center part of your wing to match that. And again, you got the basswood here to help strengthen it and so your rubber bands don't damage it. Alright, so back to the wing. You can see my wing tips are different pieces of foam. They're 12 inches long on each end that are attached to the center piece here. They're 7 inches wide, just as the centerpiece is. That makes the wing 54 inches. So 24 inches more wing than you have fuse, which worked out really good on this one. It flies great, balanced out well too. On the underside, I reinforced it with a strip of foam here and here. You just you cut a slit right down the center. You taco it like you're doing an aileron or an elevator, except you don't bevel it. You glue it on the bottom side for reinforcement. When I glued the tips on, I used basically a tape measure on an end to hold one side of the board up, and hot glued this seam first. Just push it together, hot glue it. After you get your shape, then you come back and you put the strengthener on and sand it up. Now you can see on this little glider, I have enough room here for my 2-cell battery. All I did was use a piece of my basswood, glued a normal hinge on there, slotted a hole here so it flops down, and then you just have a little 1 screw and a piece of the basswood there that spins and holds it down. You don't need magnets, nothing fancy. It's just like that. Now for your top skin, this part. You go to the dollar store and just get the 1 mil foam board and cover the top and the bottom with the 1 mil. It keeps it light and it strengthens it up pretty good without it being big and square looking. And as you can see, you can sand it real easy. I just sanded it with sandpaper to round it off. The tail is pretty basic. On this one I went with a cut rudder at about, I don't know, 15 degrees. So my elevator can go up and down and not hit the rudder. And they can both be one solid piece. The elevator is 1 inch, the rudder is 1.25 inches wide. And the tail, I just came up with the dimensions in my head. I haven't even measured it. Pretty sure it's 1 foot wide with the taper. You can taper it however you want. The horizontal fin and vertical fins are just solid foam board, 5 mil, just like the wing. Except on the tail, I didn't do any of the wood on the leading edges to save weight, so it wouldn't be tail heavy. And that's pretty much it for the glider. As you can see, servos are real simple, hot glued onto the inside. Just like that, real close quarters. I would build the next one about a 1/4 inch wider. So I would probably go 2.5 by 2.5 inches, so you have lots of room. And you can taper the fuse however you want. It doesn't really matter, as long as you come out weight proportional, not too tail heavy, not too nose heavy. And then the firewall on the front is basswood. So that helps you get a little bit of that nose weight. And a little 1400 kV motor on the front, 10 amp ESC, and receiver. The landing gear I just bent out of wire I had laying around. You don't need a landing gear. I just like to have it because where I fly it's really sandy. And I don't like the planes getting dirty. That pretty much covers the basic 5mm glider trainer. It took about 2 days to build. 2 sticks of hot glue, 2 servos, motor, ESC. That's about it. Whatever receiver you might have laying around. Thanks for watching, and that's the 5mm glider.